Real Life's Tim Estiloz has the story history tried to cover up.
We were sitting out in the yard, some neighbors, and pretty soon we saw people come running through the yard. Just lots and lots of people. So Mama had stopped once. She said, "What are you doing running? What's going on?" She said, "Well, they're burning Tulsa down."
This sparse section of Tulsa, Oklahoma is called Greenwood. And believe it or not, 75 years ago was also known to a lot of people as America's Black Wall Street. That's because black businesses in this community flourished, despite the fact that the city was deeply segregated. But what a lot of people don't know is that it was also the site of one of the nation's worst race riots.
And she would send her and she would say, "I have a pass from Mrs. Mayo."
Eddie Faye Gates is writing a book about the history of the Tulsa Riot of 1921. She says the black community has never forgotten the devastation. But today, 75 years later, few people in Tulsa's white community are willing to talk about the racially motivated riot.
People like to be known for the good and the great things, and it's just natural not to want your dirty linen aired. But also, on the other hand, you cannot have a truthful, honest nation if you do not face up to your history.
Which is exactly what Tony Pringer is doing. You see, his late grandfather, Herb Johnson, was a fireman during the riot. He was also a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Being in the fire department, it was the thing to belong in the Klan also. It was good for promotions and supposedly the Klan, he said, actually got poor baskets for the poor and at Christmas time and did a number of good things. But they were also very extremely prejudiced against Catholics, Jewish people, or especially blacks. And so I think a great deal of people were at that time.
At the turn of the century, Tulsa was a booming oil town. On the other side of the tracks, Greenwood was also prosperous. It had 15 grocery stores, 2 black newspapers, 2 black public schools, 4 drugstores, and 2 movie houses.
They had dance halls and everything, music. It was, in fact, the people were happy because they were independent. They didn't have to depend on anyone.
Greenwood continued to be prosperous in 1921, even after a depression hit the oil industry.
Some of the whites were losing their jobs. They resented these black people having that money and that wealth. There was just no respect for black people. It was just as if you even thought about them at all, it was as if they were almost aliens. There was no respect. It was an attitude that they were second-class citizens.
Black Tulsans were often degraded by white clerks in downtown department stores.
They had signs up on all of the stores downtown, "No colored wanted."
Those conditions were there, and a riot was just waiting to happen. The incidents, the catalyst that started it was an elevator incident. Dick Rowland was a 19-year-old shoeshine boy who worked downtown. He worked with Robert Fairchild.
He was a shoeshine boy like I was, and I was shining shoes at the same place he was. Because of the discrimination, the Negro was not allowed to use the restroom in the business establishment. So one morning around 10 o'clock, May 31st, he wanted to use the restroom, which was located on the 4th floor. So he went to get on the elevator, and it so happened that the operator had stopped the elevator, so the floor of the elevator was not even with the floor of the building. When Dick Rowland went to get on, he stumbled. And in his effort to break his fall, he reached out. And he touched the lady who operated the elevator, and she hollered rape. They arrested him. And that afternoon, the Tribune came out telling about what had happened, and it looked like there would be a lynching tonight in Tulsa.
And without any investigation, Dick Rowland was taken to the courthouse in downtown Tulsa. But Greenwood citizens were not about to see Rowland lynched. 50 black men armed with shotguns and pistols blocked the courthouse.
Finally, an old man white fellow about 65 years of age and about 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighed about 140 pounds, walked up to a Negro that weighed 250. And he said, "Nigga, what you doing with that gun?" He said, "I'm gonna use it if I need to." He said, "No, you ain't, you give it to me." He tried to take it, and that set the riot off.